Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all for coming and joining us today. Today we have two topics to cover. The first one is training futures. We have our guest, Ms. Christine Miller. She will start and she will cover all the details on how to join this program, the training, and how to benefit from it.
So thank you so much for inviting me here today. It's wonderful to see everyone, and I hope you'll get some useful information that I'm going to be providing today. So my name is Christine Miller, and I am the program coordinator with the Training Futures program. Training Futures is a program of Northern Virginia Family Service. We are a 6-month job training program. Our goal is to help individuals get entry-level administrative jobs, and we do this in a variety of ways. As you can see from the first slide, our slogan is investing in talent and investing in the future, because we really do truly feel with our comprehensive 6-month program, at the end, individuals really are targeted for an excellent career in a wide variety of roles. So just a little bit about Training Futures. So we are a nationally recognized workforce development program. Training Futures started in 1996, and at that time, there was a high need for entry-level clerical workers in Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., and the surrounding areas. So the program was really founded to really train people to get entry-level clerical positions. Now, times have obviously changed. The workforce has definitely changed, and so we've really shifted our curriculum to meet the needs of employers and individuals in the area. So we've been around since 1996, so 20 years. We're about to celebrate our 20-year anniversary. And in that time, we've trained over 2,000 people from very diverse backgrounds from all over the country and really all over the world. The primary goal of our program is to help people who are either unemployed, underemployed, really gain entry-level skills. So part of these skills involve technical skills, communication skills, professional skills, all of the skills that are really required to secure a rewarding career with potential for an advancement in an administrative role. Another goal is to really make candidates who come through our program competitive in such a competitive job market in Northern Virginia. So a little bit about our program. On average, 84% of people who graduate from our program find full-time entry-level jobs within 1 year of graduation. So we really do have a very high success rate. On average, 57% of people who come through our program see an average gain of 57% in wage over the course of a year. So a little bit about our program. Again, we are a 6-month job training program, and there are a lot of elements that really make our program very comprehensive. So we provide technical skills, and I'll get into that a little bit more. We provide professional skills, so we really treat our program as if you were coming to work every day, so it is very much like a professional environment. It is a very high support environment. We do have a lot of expectations because, again, we're trying to train you for what a corporate environment would look like. So it's a very high expectation program, but we do provide a high level of support during your time in the program. There is a 3-week internship process, which I'll talk about a little bit. And then there's also a heavy component on career preparedness, so really finding and seeking a job. So a little bit about the program. It's in what we call a simulated office environment. And so what that means is during the 6 months when you're in the program, you would be coming to an office every day to take the training. So unlike a school environment, we do really treat it like a job environment. So we do require professional dress every day, professional communication. We require attendance Monday through Friday, pretty much anything that a corporate employer would expect every day. The training takes place Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and it's 24 weeks, so it's 6 months in duration. The way the curriculum breaks down is the first 15 weeks of the program is what we call the office skills part of the training. So during that time is when you're going to be learning the technical skills, the communication skills, the professional skills. After that, there is a 3-week internship. When you return from internships, the last 4 weeks of the program is really the job search phase of the program. So a little bit about our curriculum. Our curriculum is continually changing, again, to kind of meet the needs of trainees coming into the program, but also to meet the demands of employers and what they're looking for when they hire people. So this is really just a sample of what we offer. But the first 15 weeks is the skill-based part of the training. So some of the trainings that we offer is basic computer skills. So we train individuals in Microsoft Office Suite. So we train for Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and then Microsoft Access. You do have the opportunity coming into the program, if you are interested in computers, you have the opportunity to become certified in Microsoft Office 2013. In addition to computers, we also offer a keyboarding, a typing class. Many of our job seekers find that when they go to interviews, oftentimes they will be required to take a typing test. So we do try to train individuals to get a very high typing speed. We also offer a professional communication class. This is very heavily focused on professional business writing, but also business communication. So we focus very heavily on the writing component, but there's also a public speaking component to this training. It's in the form of what we call speakers clubs. So once a week, trainees get up in front of a group, much as I'm doing right now, and really work very heavily on communication skills. We offer 3 business classes. The first is called Office Administration, and that just focuses very heavily on what the customer service office administrative role looks like. We offer a records management class, which is very heavily focused on electronic and paper filing. And then we also offer a financial management and customer service class. Again, much of these trainings are just to tailor individuals to be able to go into any entry-level administrative position and have the skills required. We offer a business math class and a professional development workshop series. So our professional development workshops happen 1 day a week during the 15-week skill part of the session, and that's when we bring in professionals from all over Northern Virginia, from big companies like SAIC, Freddie Mac, Wells Fargo, and they deliver professional development workshops on a variety of topics. Everything from communication in the workplace, conflict resolution, diversity, stress management, time management. As we get into the job search portion of the program, we focus more on networking and what it looks like to build a professional profile. So these workshops happen once a week, and again, it's just to help people in your professional development trajectory. So after the 15-week skills part of the training, anyone who comes into the program has the opportunity to go on a 3-week internship. The 3-week internship experience is really important because it gives individuals the opportunity to demonstrate the skills that you've been building for 15 weeks. So it's an opportunity to really showcase the skills that you've learned. Both the technical skills and the professional skills, which I'll talk about a little bit more. Also, many people coming into the program have already worked in an office before and may have some office experience, which is great, but some people have never worked in an office before. And so going through the 15-week training now, you have a professional office experience to put on your resume, so that's also how the internships are very helpful. It's an opportunity to develop professional relationships, to network as you prepare for the job search phase. It also is a way to walk away with a professional letter of recommendation. So as you are applying for jobs, you have this 3-week internship experience and a supervisor that you've reported to who can give you a letter of recommendation. It also helps to gain confidence in preparation for the job search. You've been on this temporary 3-week internship assignment, so you sort of have already kind of gotten your foot in the door somewhere, so it really helps a lot of people gain confidence once the job search starts. After internships, the last 4 weeks of the program is the job search phase. We call this getting and keeping a job. So one part of it is very heavily focused on putting together all the written tools that you will need. Writing a resume, writing a cover letter, applying for jobs online, building things like a LinkedIn profile, doing a lot of networking. It's very heavily focused on that. The other part is very heavily focused on interviewing skills. Interviewing skills are very important. The resume gets you the job interview, but the job interview is what gets you the job. So we spend a lot of time practicing on interviewing skills. We bring in volunteers to interview trainees directly. We do panel interviews, we do phone interviews, so we really want to make sure that everyone is prepared once they go on the interview. I should also mention that Training Futures, we are a very small staff. We're a staff of 7, so we rely very heavily on volunteers. We have a wonderful volunteer community who are able to work with trainees one-on-one. We also have a lot of corporate volunteers who come in every day to help. So we are a small staff, but we are a high support model, so we do rely very heavily on our volunteer community to assist us. So just a little bit about our admissions criteria. Some basic, I believe the referral form was passed around, so just some basic requirements of the program. Number 1 is that you have to be interested in attending a job training program for 6 months. It's quite a commitment, so that's really the first piece, is that you're interested and willing to commit 6 months to coming to Training Futures every day, Monday through Friday. Another is that you must be a resident of Northern Virginia for at least 1 year and have 1 year of work experience in the United States. Now, if you don't have a year of work experience in the United States, that's okay. Probably what we would focus on is getting you some volunteer experience while you're in the Training Futures program. So if you don't have 1 year of work experience, that's okay. We can work around that. Proficient in English and basic math. There is an assessment tool that we do apply to anyone coming into the program. So you do have to have basic English and basic math skills. The way the intake process works is basically if you meet all the criteria on this referral form, we'll bring you in to go through the application process. The application process involves a basic interview, completing our application, and then taking the TABE assessment. The TABE assessment is, there's a reading section, a language section, and 2 math sections. And that's just, the reason why we administer this assessment is just to make sure that your skills are aligned, pretty much your language skills, in order for you to be successful in the program. Many people have come to us, have taken the TABE, and their language skills aren't quite there yet. And so we say that's okay, maybe take some ESL classes, maybe take some other classes, and then come back to us in 6 months. So we never close the door on an applicant. It might just not be the right time. Some other basic requirements is you must be at least 20 years of age, and you must have a high school diploma, a GED, or a foreign equivalent of that. You must provide an earnings statement. We only serve individuals who are low income, who fall below a certain income threshold. And again, willing to commit to a program for 6 months. One thing that's not on here that I should mention, you also have to be legally able to work in the United States. So even if you're not a citizen, you must have a green card, a working permit, but it is a requirement that you need to be able to legally work in the United States. So this is our most recent graduating class. We serve about 100 individuals each year, about 50 per cycle. And as you can see from the picture, we are really a very diverse group. I mean, we really do welcome anyone coming into the program who really is just determined to get an entry-level administrative job. I think I went kind of fast, but any questions that come to mind? So there's no cost associated to the program, but there is a $350 book and materials fee. So the $350 book and materials fee does not have to be paid all at once. It can be paid in installments, but it is a requirement. This is located in Tysons? We are located in Tysons Corner. So we're right off the Silver Line. So if you don't have a car, we are metro accessible. I'm sorry? We utilize a lot of volunteers, we do. Yeah, so another thing I should mention is through the application process, it is pretty lengthy, and when you come in to go through the application with us, we do ask a lot of basic questions just to make sure that you're able to commit to a 6-month program. So general things like transportation. Do you have transportation to get here every day? Childcare is a big thing. If you have children, do you have a reliable childcare every day? Housing, is your housing situation stable? So we will ask a lot of those questions just to make sure, again, that you're able to commit to a 6-month program. Or from another country, that's fine. It can be from another country. And we do also realize that sometimes if you do have a degree from another country, it can be difficult to obtain that. So we will work with you on that, yeah. It depends on the size of your family. So we essentially follow the federal poverty guidelines. So it depends on the size of your family. So if someone wanted to volunteer for our program, so not take the program, but just volunteer to help out, then you would just give us a call and we would have you fill out a volunteer interest application. And then we would bring you in just to show you the site and just talk a little bit more about the volunteer opportunities. But it would be the same number to call. So our current cycle right now is getting ready to graduate in December. They graduate on December 9th. So that's what they will be looking up. That's what they will be looking like in a couple of weeks. Our next cycle starts on January 9th. Yes. So each cycle we serve about 50 individuals. And what we do, everybody takes the same training, but we split everyone up into 3 training groups. So it's very much a cohort model. You would be in a group with about 16 people and you would take the same training every day. And what a typical training day looks like, I can talk a little bit about that. We start at 9 o'clock a.m. And you would basically take 3 trainings. So your first training could be your computer class, and that would be from 9 to 10:30. Your next class could be your English class, and that would probably be from 10:30 to 12. Then there's a lunch break, and then your afternoon trainings would coincide. One thing that we do require, which I failed to mention, is that we do require 2 hours of what we call lab time per week. We pack in a lot of material in 6 months because we do want to make sure that you're prepared. But we do pack in quite a bit of material. And in order for us to deliver the amount of material that we can, with also meeting the needs of people coming into the program, we've shortened our training day from 9 to 2 because we do realize that many people still need to work. Many people still have families, have to pick up their kids from school, so the training day is only from 9 to 2. So we just ask that you commit to an additional 2 hours per week to complete the work at Training Futures so you don't have to take it home with you. Yes, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 to 2. Yeah, so I should say probably 80% of our program participants, English is either probably a second or even a third language. So the TABE assessment just kind of gives us a baseline for where you're at. So in the language and reading section of the TABE that you would take, it's basically the equivalent of the GED in the United States. And so the highest that you can score on that would be a 12. We're looking for a minimum of 7. If you're not quite between the 7 and 12, we're going to dig a little deeper to see kind of where you're at. To see where you're at. We will do an evaluation. If we determine that perhaps the language isn't quite where it needs to be, we'll give you some referrals to other programs, but then we'll say, come back to us in 6 months. That being said, we have a lot of volunteers who practice conversational English every day. So if you feel confident with your language and it is there, but you just need more practice, we do have volunteers who come in. We also offer accent reduction 2 days a week. We have volunteers who come in to help with accent reduction if that's an issue. Did that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. And again, if you have any further questions or if you look through the brochure and see something that maybe I forgot to cover, please feel free to call the number on the flyer. Rini Victor, our program assistant, is fantastic, and she's happy to answer any questions. We are also conducting intake for our next cycle starting in January. So if you do feel like this is a good fit, give us a call, and we're doing intake 3 days a week. So we'd love to see you. Okay? Thank you very much.
We have our guest, Miss Gloria Williams-Brevard with USCIS. Go ahead.
So again, we're going to talk a little bit about various immigration topics. I know that you've been reading in the news about different things, and as you help yourself to the materials that are on the table, and as you make your way back to the table, and as you settle yourself down, we're going to do something called an Immigration 101, and we're going to just talk about some basic agency information, because even though you may have read in the news about our agency, you may not be familiar with, okay, what's going to happen? What do they do? What did they do for me? I know I came into the United States maybe as a refugee. I know I came in the United States as an asylee. What did they say they'd do for me? Now that the resettlement agency is not helping me anymore? So we're going to talk a little bit about my agency. This is our current Secretary of Homeland Security. You know we now have a new president-elect, and so we're going to have a new Secretary of Homeland Security, and then we're going to have a new director of my agency. But this is our current director here, Jay Johnson. He was sworn in on December 23rd, 2013, so he's been on the job going in next month for about 3 years. When we talk about the Department of Homeland Security, where does it fit? How was it created? And what happened to INS? And so again, when we talk about what happened to the Immigration and Naturalization Service, people still try to Google INS, but by definition, INS no longer exists. But what did they do with INS when they created the Department of Homeland Security? The Department of Homeland Security represents about 22 different agencies. And what they did with INS is they split us up into 3 different agencies. And so I kind of think about it as the border, when you talk about the internal borders, the external borders, and then when you talk about the other immigration benefits. And so the 3 white parts that you see, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, of which I represent, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That's what happened to INS. And so when you talk about then, what is the difference between the 3 of us? The difference is U.S. Customs and Border Protection are the staff that you see when you come to the airport, and probably when you are going over the border. And so that's what I would call sort of like the external border patrol types of agents. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is the portion of INS that still gives out the immigration benefits. And so when we talk about the benefits of citizenship, and when we talk about the benefits of permanent residency, certainly when we talk about the benefits for asylum, we talk about refugee parole, and if your parents with children from those Central American countries, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, where we have a Central American minors program where we would like for you to petition for your children to come to the United States versus them putting themselves in harm's way to cross the border. And so we also are the agency that owns the E-Verify system, and we'll talk about that for a little bit. The mission of USCIS is similar to the mission of ICE, similar to the mission of CBP, and again, our mission is to secure the promise to secure the borders. The mission of the former INS was to move people across the borders. We talked about immigration into the U.S., naturalization, the prosecution and removal of violators. And so again, the prosecution, removal of violators, that's not the role of USCIS anymore. That is exclusively the role of ICE. And so when people see the Department of Homeland Security seal, they just think all together, oh, Department of Homeland Security, those are the people that arrest people. Those are the people that remove people. And so we want you to understand that the 3 different parts of the agencies have 3 distinct missions and roles. We have 3 different websites. If you have not gone into the website and you want to learn more about Customs and Border Patrol, you would go cbp.gov. If you wanted to learn more about Immigration and Customs Enforcement, you would go ICE or ICE.gov. And then certainly when you talk about USCIS, USCIS.gov is the only official website regarding the immigration benefits that we give. And we know that there are a lot of imposters out there. And so again, remember that our website will end with .gov. If you have USCIS.com, then you may be on a website that is an imposter. I represent the Washington District Office. We are district number 7 of the 26 districts across the country. It is my office that you would come to probably on Prosperity Avenue if you had the need for an interview or if you needed to make an InfoPass appointment because you wanted to find out additional information for your application that could be pending at the service center. When we talk about immigration law, we talk about something that is very complex, powerful, personal, and all of you all, if you have any type of immigration benefit, then you understand that it involved paperwork, that if you especially came to the United States recently and you left your family members back home, that it involved a lot of change, certainly that it was personal for you and your family, for the benefits that you were seeking here in the United States, and for those benefits that you were seeking for your family members who could conceivably still be out. This talks about a typical day in USCIS because a lot of people forget, yes, we are the agency that processes your applications, but people may forget about the sheer volume of the workload that we handle. Now understand, these statistics are several years old, which means that now the numbers are higher, but it talks about the security checks. At that time, 135,000. It talked about receiving 250,000 web hits. That means that conceivably now more than 250,000 people visit our website to find out information. It talks about at that time handling 41,000 calls at our 800 customer service center number. It talks about adjudicating 30,000 applications, and it talks about the walk-in customers. It talks about approximately 7,000 green cards and welcoming 2,600 new citizens, but we know that that number is higher. This is the definition when we say, what is an immigrant? So what's an immigrant? An immigrant is a resident alien. And I know that there are some people in the community that probably take exception to the fact that we still use the phrase alien, but we haven't changed it yet. And so again, a resident alien, excuse me, a permanent resident, a green card holder, an immigrant who needs a visa to live permanently in the United States. Now, the wonderful thing is that you can live permanently in the United States, but we don't stop you from visiting wherever you want to visit. This is what we still call a green card. But as you see, the green card is no longer green. If there was anybody in the room who had a card in their pocket and it was still green, then you don't even have to tell me, I know that your card is old. I know that you've had your card probably for more than 10 years, because the permanent resident card from far away looks similar to the employment authorization card. Everyone who is issued a permanent resident card now is issued a card that is only good for 10 years. So what happens after 10 years? If my card is expiring, does that mean that I lose my status? Not at all. That just means that we want you to replace your document. And then certainly if you've had your permanent residency for at least 5 years, we want you to consider applying for citizenship. And so if you came into the country as a refugee or an asylee, then I know that they explain to you in your paperwork that after you have been here 1 year, you are eligible to apply for permanent residency. And then certainly after 5 years, you're eligible to apply for citizenship. Now, the wonderful thing about the United States is we will never make you apply for citizenship, but we want you to be excited about it. So how do people get a green card? There are two ways. You get a green card based on family or based on having a job. U.S. citizens can file for their spouses or their children of any age, their parents and their siblings, and permanent residents can file for their spouse, their children under the age of 21, or their unmarried sons or daughters who are over the age of 21. The employment part for getting a green card is based on an employer who's willing to sponsor you. But if an employer wants to hire you for it to lead to a green card, they are also going to have to file a certification with the Department of Labor saying, I could not find a U.S. citizen to be able to do that type of job. The other way that you can get a green card is to be a refugee or an asylee. As I said, if you came in and you've been a refugee or an asylee for a year, then you're eligible to file for your green card. And then certainly you can apply through the diversity lottery that is maintained by the State Department. It's a very short window of time, and you can apply for the diversity lottery even if you're here unlawfully or you're here on other type of immigration status. This is the definition of a visa. Again, a visa allows somebody admission into the United States. It doesn't guarantee entry. That's why when we talked about the employees who are at the airport, the Customs and Border Patrol person's role is to determine, are you admissible into the United States? Again, the State Department issues the visas, and visas can be canceled. And so you can't say, once I have my visa, I'm guaranteed to have my visa forever, and I can come and go as I please. Again, when you present yourself at the airport, it is the job of that officer to determine that you are admissible into the United States. The types of visa categories, we had already talked about, how do I get my permanent residency? It's based on family or based on employment. And then we've got those non-immigrant visas. We've got the tourist visa, the student visas, the specialized worker visa. People ask, how can I invite my family member to come visit me? I don't want them to stay. I just want them to come see how good I'm doing in my new country. And so you would write a letter of invitation, and you would also fill out a Form I-134 affidavit of support, because you're saying to the United States government, while my family member is visiting with me, they will not become a public charge. Let's talk about naturalization briefly. These are some of the reasons that people naturalize. Remember, I said the United States will never make you become a citizen. But hopefully 5 years from now, when you all are talking to one another, I hope that you're being excited talking about, oh, I just got my citizenship. Oh, I'm going to get my citizenship in 6 months. Oh, let me tell you about the wonderful ceremony that I got my citizenship at. These are some of the reasons that people naturalize. It talks about the allegiance to the country. It talks about voting. Now, we know that we just celebrated the presidential election. And we know that the presidential election comes around every 4 years. But I want to encourage you to not just think about citizenship and voting every 4 years, but even as you take the time to learn the different topics coming to these sessions, that you familiarize yourself with the community that you live in. Do you know your congressperson? Do you know who was reelected as the congressperson in your area? Do you know when they have the school board elections? When they have the elections for the Board of Supervisors. So again, but the other reasons that people talk about naturalizing is they see themselves as running for elected office. And also because they want to work for the U.S. government. Perhaps you'd like my job. Give me several years and I will kindly give it to you. It also talks about upgrading family petitions, because depending on what type of petition you're filing for, some applications move faster because you are a U.S. citizen who is submitting it. And so the eligibility requirements for citizenship talks about you being a permanent resident for at least 5 years. There's a requirement that you live in the United States, a continuous residency requirement, and there's a physical presence requirement. And so what does that mean? That means that, remember I said that you can take as many trips as you want outside of the United States? When you are applying for citizenship, the officer is going to be interested in, did you take any trips that were more than 6 months? And if you take any trips outside of the United States that are more than a year, that could affect your eligibility for citizenship. If you decide, I don't want to apply for citizenship right now, and you're outside of the country, or something occurs and you're going to have to stay outside of the United States for more than a year, You can apply for a reentry permit that will give you permission to stay outside for up to 2 years. But again, as I said, if you stay outside of the United States for more than a year, it's going to affect your eligibility for citizenship. I am from the Washington District Office. The other requirement is you have to show when you submit your naturalization application that you've lived in our jurisdiction for 3 months. The Washington District Office has jurisdiction over Virginia and D.C. Now, the Washington Field Office, which is inside the Washington District Office, has jurisdiction over D.C. and Northern Virginia. We also have a Norfolk Field Office that has jurisdiction over the southern part of Virginia. There's a good moral character requirement. Also, we're going to test you on your knowledge of U.S. history and civics. 2008 is when we started implementing the test that is currently being used. And so when we talk about what happens at an interview, I bought some DVDs that are also out there on YouTube. We do have a social media presence, USCIS. So USCIS is on Twitter. I know it's hard to believe. We are on YouTube. We have a Facebook page. And so why am I bringing that up? Because when you're talking about looking for official government information, we want you to use the official government resources that are available for you. We want you to watch out for immigration fraud. Now, I know you were following the news. I know a couple of years ago, you were following, 4 years ago almost, when the president had proposed executive actions, and those actions did not take place because of the decision of the court. But I want you to know that we still have the original deferred action for childhood arrival provisions that were put in place in 2012. And so maybe you have some children that came to the United States, and now they're 15 or 16 years old, and they are eligible to apply for DACA. And you've been watching for the past couple of years because you didn't know what would happen. And even you're looking now to say, okay, here's the new president-elect. What's going to happen? Is USCIS going to continue processing the applications that they have? And so again, it is our job to do whatever it is that Congress tells us to do regarding the immigration laws that are in place. Okay? And so when we talk about the rumors, will USCIS stop processing this, or what happens to that program? The only thing I can tell you to do is that you stay abreast of the agency information that comes out. But we also want you to protect yourself against fraud. And so again, we don't want you going to someone who does not understand immigration law. You don't want to go to a tax preparer if you have an immigration question. It doesn't sound, even if they says it's good and give me $5,000, and you heard that your neighbor down the street got an immigration benefit because they paid the money. Again, this is not the time to give your money to someone who does not know what they're talking about. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some self-help tips. When we're talking about submitting your applications to USCIS, we don't want you to rush. We want you to take your time, fill out the applications. We want you to answer the questions properly. We want you to sign the applications. We want you to attach the correct fee, and we want you to send the application to the correct offices. We want you to keep copies of your paperwork. You keep a personal copy for yourself, and then you send the original. If an application asks you for documents, USCIS no longer requires original documents, so that one copy of your marriage certificate or your birth certificate that you have, you can send us a copy. Don't send us your original. There is a process to get your original paperwork back, but why would you want to have to go through it if the government is not requiring you to submit your original documentation? These are the top 3 reasons that applications are rejected by the agency. Remember, I said that you have to make sure that you sign it. You have to make sure that the money you send is the correct amount. If you purchase a money order or if you purchase a check, make sure that you fill them out properly and correctly. Make sure that the fee is correct. And then remember, If you get an application returned back to you, it's a rejection, it's not a denial. If you get an application returned and it has something additional that says, please send us this document by this certain time, then it is important that you respond based on the letter that you get, that you send them what they're asking and that you send it by that particular time. If you come to the Washington District Office, or if you go to any other office in USCIS, and you feel that you've been treated rudely, this is your opportunity to ask for a supervisor. So we're going to talk a little bit about your rights, if you don't mind. Do you know that there are laws to protect you, that somebody, especially an employer, cannot discriminate against you because of the immigration documents that you have? And so if you are applying for a job, I know that you just finished the presentation regarding the training program for employment. And so when you go to find a job, just remember that your immigration documents give you rights, that you cannot be discriminated against. And that if you are discriminated against, you are free to contact the Department of Justice's Office of Special Counsel. Maybe there's a complaint you would like to file, or maybe you can refer that employer to them so that they can train them. Maybe the employer is not familiar with the document that you're presenting. And so we just want you to know that you have rights. And so as you learn even the topics coming to these sessions, then you have to remember to exercise those rights. It doesn't matter if you're a refugee or an asylee. It doesn't matter if you're here and you have temporary protective status, or if you have been granted deferred action for childhood arrival, DACA. Just understand that there are rights that protect you and your immigration documents. And so I brought information for you that describes those particular rights. I want to briefly talk about our E-Verify system. Now this talks about tracking the pending cases, but I want to talk about E-Verify. E-Verify is an electronic system where an employer is supposed to verify that you are authorized to work in the United States. And so the employer, by mandated law, is supposed to make sure that they lawfully hire people authorized to work. But I want to point out to you that there are some features regarding E-Verify that you can utilize yourself to educate yourself on your own status. Because again, as I said, if you run into an issue, then you are empowered to know something isn't right here. And I have used these tools that are available in E-Verify that show that I am authorized to work. And so one of the tools that I want to point out is the self-check tool. And so that's a tool that you answer questions, and at the end it says, congratulations, you're authorized to work. Why am I pointing that out? Because again, what did I say? An employer cannot discriminate against you because of your immigration status, because of your immigration documentation. Okay? There is also a self-locking tool. You know, we live in a time where people would like to steal your identity. And so your identity includes your alien registration number. Make sure that you protect your number. Make sure you protect your green card. Make sure you protect your employment authorization document. And so there's a self-lock feature regarding your Social Security number to make sure that somebody does not use your Social Security number and you not know about it. I want to talk about the tracking pending cases only because we talk about what resources are available for me after I file my paperwork with USCIS. And so we want you to become familiar with the computer. We want you to learn how to navigate what is available online. If I need to check the status of my case, how do I check it? I can check it online with the case status online query. I can call the National Customer Service number, the 1-800-375-5283. I recommend that if you call that number, that you get the name of the officer who is helping you, that you write down the date and time, and if they tell you, I'm going to assign this to an electronic number so that you can track it later, make sure you write that number down. You can also make an InfoPass appointment, which is an online scheduler, to come to our office to check on the status of your case, whether your case is with the Washington District Office or whether your case is at a service center. I want to talk a little bit about the visa bulletin only because if you're going to petition for your family members, people don't understand. I filed my application 10 years ago and I'm still waiting. What happened? I haven't heard anything. Well, maybe that's because you don't understand the category that your family member has been assigned to. And so the example I'm going to use is, I am the brother or the sister of a U.S. citizen. Excuse me, I am the U.S. citizen petitioning for my brother or my sister, and so that would be a category F4. Now, this was current as of several years ago, and as of several years ago, they were working on the date 2000, and this is 2016. But I can assure you that a brother or a sister of a U.S. citizen who is being petitioned for has about a 12-year wait time before their priority date becomes current. Also, if you are petitioning for your son or your daughter and they are over the age of 21, thank you so much, they are over the age of 21 and they're married, then they're going to be assigned a different category than your child who is under the age of 21 who is unmarried. We want you to keep abreast of what's going on regarding the agency, regarding what happens with my service tools, regarding, we talked about temporary protective status. There are several countries that are currently in a re-registration period, but there are some countries where the registration has ended. And so again, we want you to familiarize yourself with, how do I navigate the USCIS.gov website? How do I find out how to do my case status online? How do I find out what is the processing time for the Washington District Office? How do I make an InfoPass appointment? There are fact sheets that are customer service guides that cover different categories that say, how do I do this? I'm an asylee, I'm a refugee, I'm a permanent resident, I'm a citizen. How do I get my forms? Do I go to the Washington District Office and pick them up? Do I download them from the website? What if I don't have a computer? Will my librarian help me? What is e-filing? How do I call the 800 customer service number? These are different languages. We had created a document, Welcome to the United States, a guide for new immigrants. Online, there are almost 11 different languages. In hard copy, we printed it in Spanish and English and Arabic and Polish and Urdu and Somalia and Chinese. And again, just like you're coming to these sessions to learn different topics to help you navigate your stay in the United States, to help you become a better informed member of your community. That's what this new immigrant guide does. It covers different areas. If you have children who are in school, are you a part of the PTA? Do you know what the PTA stands for? As a parent, when the teacher schedules parent-teacher meetings, do you know what they're for? Do you know how to speak up on behalf of your child? Do you know what resources are available if your child is experiencing bullying? I also want to talk about some of the resources that are gone now that were on the table regarding citizenship. December 7th, I'll be at the George Mason Library talking about citizenship. Sometimes it's easier for people to hear what is the process before they decide I want to submit my application. I do want to point out to you that December 23rd, our application fees are going to be rising, and so I don't want you to panic and I don't want you to rush to submit your application, but I do want you to know that there's going to be a fee increase effective December 23rd. And so if you have been thinking about applying for citizenship and the current application filing fee is $680, that maybe you want to consider submitting it now, because after that it's going to go up approximately $45. We say that again? December 23rd is the date that we will be increasing our fees. And so if there are some applications that you feel you're eligible for, particularly the N400, and you're eligible, but you don't have enough money, I want to talk about the I-912 fee waiver form. In December, we're going to roll out a new fee waiver form that will hopefully make it easier for more people to be eligible. But again, these are the tools to help you better prepare. And don't think that if I apply for a fee waiver, then obviously the agency is going to think that maybe I'm not a good person because I can't afford to pay. Don't let that be your issue. If you are eligible for the benefit, then utilize the tools that are available for you. I did have some flashcards. I did have some DVDs. As I said, the flashcards, the DVDs, the vocabulary cards are available online. But if you decided today that they ran out and you want some more, then meet me at the library on December 7th, George Mason, 6:30 to 8:30. I'm a community relations officer. There are several across the country. As I said, I come from the Washington District Office, and this is my job. My job is to bring the agency to you to try to determine what are the things that make you not apply for what you're eligible for. Do you know about the resources that we have available? Do you know that when we have teleconferences that you don't have to be a lawyer to call in? Let's say that there is a teleconference about DACA and you want to hear more about it. You don't have to be a lawyer to call in. You can call in yourself. The government is not tapping your phone. You call in and you listen to the information and you're able to ask questions. Now, I know that we can do a better job offering our teleconferences in different languages. We did have our first Arabic one. We probably have had more in Spanish. We had a Korean one. We've had our Chinese one. And again, though, how do you let the agency know what is it that would be helpful to you? Well, you let us know. And the way that you let us know is that you participate in the things that we offer. If you feel that we need to do a community presentation, then let somebody know. Work with your Fairfax County representative to say, okay, I want to know more about USCIS. I want to know more about E-Verify and my rights. I want to know more about the Department of Justice, the Office of Special Counsel, how they can help me. This is my contact information. Hopefully you don't need to contact me, so we're going to skip that real quick. Are there any questions? Any questions? She wants to contact me? Okay. There's my contact information. Okay? Are there any questions? So this is what I want to leave with you today. Don't just look for the immigration benefit, and that's that. I want you to be involved in your community. Just like I was listening to the wonderful things that have been happening since you all have been coming here, those are the things that we want you to continue in your community. Learn your rights. If you are renting an apartment, if you are purchasing a home, learn your rights as a tenant. Find out what are the offices to help me. The other thing I want to talk about real quickly is, maybe not you, but maybe you've heard about the human trafficking situation in the community. Maybe you've heard about the person who could be working against their will someplace. Or maybe you live somewhere and you know that the landlord is renting out their apartment and there are things going on illegally. You can work with your local law enforcement agency, and you don't have to always identify yourself. This is for the betterment of everybody. But to talk about human trafficking, there are resources that are available through USCIS and resources that are available through ICE. Certainly resources that are available through Fairfax County. And we all are working together, again, to make sure that people, let's say you're in a domestic violence situation, learn the resources that are available for you. You cannot let fear and you cannot let rumors, and you cannot let incorrect information stop you from finding out what is out there for me. And you've got to be able to separate the fact from the fiction to find out what is available. Thank you so much. If there are no questions, go to our website. There is a question? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, for us to respect the policy as well. And with us being covered, we are somehow exposed to more of that.
Okay. And so that's a wonderful question. And so you have to understand that the screeners at the airport are TSA employees. So, but remember what I said before, if you are treated in a way at our office, it's for any other component. As for a supervisor, always don't be scared, especially if you feel that your rights are being violated. You can always ask, this is not comfortable for me. So ask for a supervisor. Don't be afraid. Well, see, now remember, I'm from USCIS, and that's a TSA issue. But I recommend that you go onto the website. If you've not been on the TSA website, what a wonderful time, because I'm sure that they've got some frequently asked questions and maybe even some scenarios. If this happens, what do I do? Okay? The old green card is green, the new one is white, even though we still say green card. The old one did not have an expiration date. The new one has a validity date of 10 years. But if you are applying for citizenship, and let's say you still have the old green one in your pocket, you still can apply for citizenship. It's 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., and we're going to talk about citizenship. So you can look on the library's website. You can look on our website, uscis.gov. /citizenship, which brings you to our resource center, and the event should also be listed there. Well, if there are no more questions, again, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much.